Known as the original fireman, the quintessential Caribbean man, the lyrical poet, Dr. Leroy Calliste, also known as Black Stalin, passed away at the age of 81 at his home in San Fernando on Wednesday. Black Stalin was a 5-time Calypso Monarch and Hummingbird Medal Silver awardee. He was also conferred with an honorary doctorate from the University of the West Indies in 2008. Today, we pay tribute to him through the eyes of Assistant Professor of Carnival Studies, Dr. Rudolph Ottley. Dr. Ottley has a PhD in Cultural Studies and has authored 9 books on Calypso. Dr. Ottley, good morning. Thank you so much for joining us on Now.
Good morning. How are you today?
I'm good, I'm good. I see that we got you up this morning so early, and we appreciate that you're joining us, of course, to reflect on the life of Dr. Leroy Calliste. So thank you so much for joining us.
Anytime.
Now, I wanted to get your initial thoughts on Black Stalin, especially as it relates to his absence. I mean, what sort of effect is that going to have on the Calypso fraternity?
Well, it is going to have a tremendous negative effect in the sense that, apart from the fact that he has a legacy of a songbook that is very much top of the line, his contribution in the last couple of years was ready to mentor a number of young people in terms of sharing his wisdom with them. And with him not being here today, I think the younger generation of Calypsonians will suffer a bit from that absence from the black man.
Yeah. Now, I mean, you would have written 9 books on Calypso. You spoke about women in Calypso. You spoke about Calypsonians from then to now. So you have a pretty good idea of Calypsonians, particularly their lyrics. I wanted to find out your thoughts on Dr. Stalin, well, Dr. Leroy Calliste's lyrics, especially as it relates to his ability to blend history and also to blend socioeconomic issues and make it storytelling and also make it so entertaining that people can dance to it and learn something at the same time.
Well, just a bit of correction there. It's actually 14 books.
14 books.
Yes, and I just want to make the records straight from his salary. So that,
yes, sir. Yes.
Yeah, yes. If you listen to Stalin's music, you will get a sense of the kind of person he was.
Yeah.
Basically, I like to describe him as the Caribbean man, the real, true, genuine Caribbean man. And if you listen to that 1979 Calypso, what he was saying basically is that in a region whereby we've all been transported, we as the people must recognize the fact that we are one people. In spite or despite the transportation mode that we came, or the name of the ship, or where we were transported from. And when he sang that particular Calypso, a number of people in the society had challenges with it. But they missed the bigger picture, because what you were saying basically is that we all came from some other place, brought here by some other people. And until we recognize the fact that we all belong to this Caribbean region, we are going to encounter some situations and some challenges that we will not necessarily overcome very easily. And as you see today, we're still going through those challenges. We are still disunited as a region. And therefore, he talked about being a Caribbean man, but inherent in that Caribbeanness is a sense of blackness. He projected a sense of blackness because for him, in this same region that he was so proud of, there's a sense whereby blackness is being depressed or stagnated or made to feel lesser of people based on your pigmentation. And he was saying to us, he's black. He's proud to be black. He recognizes the fact that he's black. And he's going to use his blackness to propel not only the black people in the society, but the region. Yeah. And again, he encountered some challenges for that, because he put blackness in front of the status quo. Just here I am, I'm a black man, and you have to deal with me. And in that blackness, he also was dealing with the sense of inequality in the society, because he's saying basically, we are the people who really started this region. We work in the oil fields, we work in the sugar plantations, and yet when the time came for sharing the spoils, we are being left out.
Yeah.
So you talk about Mr. Divider, let us share equally. We don't have a problem if some people came after and they didn't really contribute. But we are saying to you, we were here first. and well, not taking into account the Amerindian society, but in terms of the people who develop the region, and therefore we have to be given our equal share.
Now,
So
Dr. Ottley,
those three things.
do you believe as a Calypsonian, even then, even now, that you are supposed to use that platform to speak on issues like this? Because, I mean, you rightly mentioned how he brought blackness to the fore. He spoke about, in his song Ism Schism, he would have spoken about what was going on in Grenada. In terms of Fix It, he was talking about how the black people always had to suffer and how people think we could take that suffering to be successful. And so do you think as Calypsonians, we do have that right where we need to bring certain things to the fore because we have the platform to do so?
But that's the basis for Calypso. The Calypso in its original state is to really address the issues of the people. But doing it in a particular way where there's an element of entertainment attached to it. And if you listen to Black Stalin's music, as serious as those issues were, there's always the melody or rhythm that could also have you dancing or relaxing. And therefore, he found the magic touch very early in his career to ensure that his lyrics were poignant enough to keep you thinking, but the melody will keep you entertained and keep you dancing. And that's the skill of a true Calypsonian. Today, we don't have those kinds of Calypsonians in abundance as we had in the days of Stalin and Kitchener and Sparrow and these guys. So that, yes, it's something that the younger Calypsonians should try to emulate in terms of how you merge the lyrics and the melody to keep it palatable and keep it enjoyable rather than the dreary political lectures that we get in these days from some of the Calypsonians.
Yeah. Dr. Ottley, you make a very interesting point because you're saying that the new Calypsonians, or the ones that we have now, they aren't doing it on one hand, and then some of the others aren't, going back to that. But remember, a long time, there were so many Calypsonians in abundance for younger ones to learn from. I mean, Black Stalin himself would have learned under Kitchener. I mean, how can the younger generation now learn from the older ones, especially since a lot of them are passing away, or some of them aren't singing the songs that they used to? How can they learn that sweet spot that Black Stalin had?
Well, I think it has a lot to do with what your purpose or what the younger Calypsonian will have identified to be their reason for being involved in Calypso. Are you involved in Calypso because you accept this as an art? And with any art, you have to go through the rudiments of learning the basics of it. Or are you involved in Calypso to win a prize, which is the Calypso Monarch title? And from my interaction with the fraternity, it appears to me that the majority of them are interested solely in winning a Monarch title, and they're not prepared to understand the fundamentals of Calypso. Calypso is basically, as I said before, to educate the population, but in doing so, entertaining them. These younger people, and I don't want to go on like if I'm bashing them. I'm saying the reality from what they have presented is that, number one, they are refusing to learn the rudiments of writing your own Calypso. Now, there's the argument there that, everyone cannot write, and I accept that. But even if you cannot write, then you have to be able to tell your writers, this is what you want. This is how you would like it to be presented. These are the ideas I have in my mind. For a number of them, that is not important. Once they can purchase the Calypso, go on stage and present it, that's all they're interested in. And in conversation with Stalin over the years, he is one of the people who will have told you stories about him sitting at the feet of Lord Kitchener, just to understand how Calypso moves from point A to point Z. And speaking at various times with the mighty Sparrow, Stalin spoke about it in his conversation with Sparrow in the 60s, trying to understand what this thing is about. I don't think the younger Calypsonians share or interact on the same level with the elder ones, because we still have some elder Calypsonians around who can contribute. For example, people like David Rudder are still accessible to the young ones. But will they make the time to call David Rudder and say, hey, David, I have an idea, how do we go about it? Yeah. And the perfect example is Professor Liverpool. He's around. I mean, he's a 9-time Calypso Monarch. He's been singing since 1968. Why don't you call Professor Liverpool? I'm sure he will be willing to address some of the issues or concerns that they have.
Yeah. And quickly before we go, Dr. Ottley, I'm also wondering, what sort of legacy is he going to leave on the industry? I know it's big. I know his classics. I know the impact, and I know how he blends that storytelling with the melody. But honestly, if we were to really take a look at his life and his contribution, what sort of legacy we think he's going to leave on the industry? And this is Black Stalin, of course.
Yeah, but when you talk about an industry, there are some icons or there are people who will forever be remembered. So we had the Roaring Lion, we had the executed Roaring Lion, and we have Kitchener, and therefore we're going to have people like Sparrow and Black Stalin. So in a category of, let's say, the top 10 Calypsonians to be in our environment, I think Stalin ranks in that 12. Yeah. That doesn't Calypsonians.
Yeah, and
but before Dr. I go, I think one of the things that we may not have the time to deal with, or is that in spite of all the seriousness and all the consciousness of the black man, there's a side of him that people seldom talk about, and that is there was this mischievous, impish kind of behavior when he got to know you, how he will interact with you, and to get away from the seriousness that you will have seen on stage or in his productions. And to me, that is what I will personally cherish from those nights at the Mass Camp Pub on Wednesday nights at the Mass Camp Pub for the last 15 years or so, where you saw the human being, Leroy Calliste, interacting with you in an environment where everyone is equal, everyone is talking. And trust me, for those 15 years, the only topic we dealt with was Calypso.
Dr. Ottley, I appreciate your thoughts, because I know that you were one of the few who got to see him in that line. For us, he will always be Black Stalin, the Caribbean man, the original fireman, that sort of thing. But I'm thankful that you were able to share that side, and I thank you so much for joining us for this conversation, and I wish you all the best with your other books that I know you're probably working on already. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much, and Miss Challery.
Have a good day.
You too.
And that was Dr. Ottley, Assistant Professor of Carnival Studies, just looking back on the life and times of Black Stalin, sharing that mischievous little personality trait that we didn't know. But we're also going to be looking at some local and cultural personalities and journalists who would have celebrated Stalin's 79th birthday in 2020. We have a clip. We're going to take a look at it now.
Black Stalin came out of a particular generation of Calypsonians in the 70s who really started to explore the root of what Calypso is as a form of African storytelling.
Black Stalin, for me as a young person growing up, that did something to me now. That black identity, which we cannot be afraid of, we cannot run from it, we must be proud of it.
I saw myself of who I wanted to be in Black Stalin.
He is the only Calypsonian who has made non-black men think that they were black men. From the line of his song, "Tonight the Black Man Feeling to Party," when that song plays, everybody sings it as if it was them he was talking about.
He called on fire on everybody 20-something years before Capleton could ever think about it, right? He is the original fireman.
This is a man who was able to address all kinds of issues, not just locally. He was never parochial. He always had a sort of appreciation for international events.
His music is just really, really diverse. His music touches a lot of people.
And I love that there was always a message in his music while you could appreciate the music.
I think he's actually a beacon for Trinidadians. He unifies people in feeling light and feeling good. He gives you the heavy blow with a velvet glove.
That unique blend of somebody who could delve so deeply into history with just the jazziest, sweetest melodic structure. And be really ideologically clear.
It was thought-provoking. It was questioning, making you interrogate some of what you took for granted and think about it a second or third time.
I love his sense of politics and his commitment to his politics and his ability to put that in a popular form.
and he wasn't afraid to give the messages that he wanted to give in his music. And I think that is something that I would love to emulate, just not to be afraid to give the messages that I think the country needs. And that's why he was called like the voice of the people.
For me, he's a treasure. And he's one of those people that, you know, I don't think that we appreciate the potency of his message, you know. He's given us anthems that will last forever.
And as mentioned, that would have been some people just talking about the Black Stalin. This would have been 2 years ago for his 79th birthday. And so we would have seen Panis, Joshua Regrello. We also saw some, of course, Attila Willer being the cultural activist that she is. We also saw Wendell Manwaran from Tree Canal and also Lou from Freetown Collective just chiming in and just giving their thoughts on Black Stalin and the impact he has had and his music has had on the industry.
It's interesting how relevant it still is.
Right?
In the sense of we didn't know what would have happened,
yes.
But it's very much the truth that these persons, regardless of generation, from we seeing the younger panist
yes.
to the older artists, to the writers, everybody can appreciate how potent, melodic and enjoyable his messages came across.
I love how Franca said, Franca was one of the ladies who spoke, she said, by his song, Black Man Feeling to Party, it's like he included everybody in the music. Everybody could have sang. No matter where you're from, what ethnicity, race, whatever, everybody could sing Tonight the Black Man Feeling to Party. And that is the kind of hold he had on people. I remember, like I saw tributes coming in yesterday, and a tribute even came in from Antigua and Barbuda. So there are people up the islands across the region who have been sending their tributes to Black Stalin.
Even in the conversation now, while the guy was talking about the natural Black Stalin, you know, the conversation that you would have had even out of performing.
Yes.
I would have really like to
at least a fly on the wall.
Understand really like,
yes.
you know, is it a case he going in depth or he letting them know, listen, you see this way you're doing here, I ain't really like it, so the other changes, or, you know, just a matter of just sharing the knowledge that he would have had. Or just making the whole, at that time, the Calypso greater.
Right.
You know what I mean? Giving his input in a real nice way to make things greater and nicer. You understand?
Yeah.
So it's pretty interesting. I would really like to actually witness the interaction, or to hear at least the interaction, you know, that conversation that they would have had. And just hearing them, you know, talk about Black Stalin, and you know, he said, you know, you'll get the Leroy Calliste, you'll get the Black Stalin, you know what I mean, because the Black Stalin is the stage performer. But when in the background, and he, you know, he coming down to earth, as we will say, with the people, you know what I mean. So it's like, hey, I'm singing on stage and telling people know, you know what I mean. So yeah.
Well, talking about being able to get a look at Dr. Calliste as well, we now have a piece from an interview with Soca Vision and Martin J. from Carnival 2013.
Myself and this man keep bouncing up in Barbados. So when I came to Trinidad this year, I said, I'm going to find him and we're going to break the curse. This is the grandfather of Calypso. There's no other word for him now, the Black Stalin. Stalin, how are you?
Martin, beautiful as ever, man. Nice to see you, you know. Real nice to see you. Finally, you always come to Trinidad and I don't see you. I just hear Martin around. Either Sandra meet me and tell me, or somebody else tell me Martin around. But nice to see you this one, man.
Tell us a little bit about this season for you, because obviously for campaigners like yourself, you're still making music, but, you know, it's not making the rounds like it did years ago. Yeah. Tell us a little bit about your music.
Well, again, you know, like everything go with age, you know, and, you know, I had the energy to go down in the dance. I may go down in the dance with a little feeling to party and enjoy myself. But, you know, we're looking at different soap doing things. I mean, come Saturday night, you have maybe about 2 or 3 songs in the steel band, you know what I mean, in the panorama, working together this year with Len Bugsy Sharp, and we out front. And a couple other bands doing Black Stallion, I and Steve Seeley have something out there. And plus that in the next, week or two, you know, putting out a couple things out there. But it's happening, you know, maybe not on the front line like all the soca fed, but it's happening, you know.
And straight from that interview, joining us this morning is Martin J. Martin, good morning.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning from a cold London. Good morning.
I was going to say, how are you feeling right now? I know you're probably freezing.
It's not that bad. We did have a very, very cold couple of weeks just before Christmas, but it's about 10 degrees at the moment, so it's not hot, but it's not too bad. It's bearable.
10 degrees. Okay, well, I know you're bringing the warmth through the airwaves as well. Tell us, Martin, I mean, how does it feel? We just watched that interview. I know that you posted on Instagram you were actually hoping to see Stalin in a few weeks. So what was it like getting that news across the pond, as we say?
It was a surprise. I mean, you know, he hasn't been well for a long time, so it's to be expected in a kind of way. But even when you do know that something's coming, when it actually happens, it's still very, very hard. And like I said, you know, on my post, you know, I'm traveled to Trinidad in 7 weeks' time, and one of my first jobs would have been to head down to San Fernando and just pop in and see him and say hello. But unfortunately, I wasn't able to do that on this rounds. But I've had over 30 years of knowing him, being a friend, doing some great interviews with him. He was just a very, very special person to me.
If there was one thing that you could take away from your relationship with Black Stalin over that 30-year period, what is the most profound thing that you would say has impacted you?
I think that everybody could resonate with Black Stalin. He could talk to anybody on any level, and his music affected people from all different levels. You know, he made sure that he went into the ghetto, as he used to say, you know, and people, even in high society, could listen to his music. And I think that amongst the conversations that we've had over the years, that is what he wanted to do. He just wanted to make sure that whenever he brought out music, it related to everybody and everybody could relate to it. And Stalin was just one of those people that could talk to anybody, and he had the same vibe about him. He never changed. He was just that normal, welcoming person from South Trinidad, and that made me, and the fact that he is such an icon just made it even more special.
Well, definitely some facts that you're talking there this morning. So do you have any memory, in particular one memory, that you would like to share with us this morning?
I think the general memory I have is going to, and the tent has changed its name over the years, but a lot of people know it as Calypso House, but the tent on Deluxe Street. And every time I've flown into Trinidad, the first thing, you know, Eric Smarts has said to me, what do you want to do? He always knew I had an itinerary, and I said, all right, before we go to our fete, let me hit the tent. Let me go and see Sandra, let me go and see Stalin and Shadow. And I used to get to the gate, and the gate man over the years got to know me, and he'd just call into the back and say, hey, the fat man from England come. And when I used to actually go into the tent, Stalin would say, hey, look, the fat man from England come. And that for me is just a typical memory of me and Dr. Calliste.
Wow. Well, that's a beautiful memory to share, and of course, really sharing a part of our culture and our humor. I mean, we're cracking up here in studio this morning, Martin, to hear that. Now, you did say you were coming back to Trinidad in a few weeks, and of course, it's going to be very different now when you come back. I mean, I have to use it, sorry, but the fat man from England is not something you're going to hear anymore. But perhaps will we be seeing any tributes from you coming in, of course, being the man of culture that you are, whether it be online, in person, in mass, that sort of thing?
Well, my first tribute will be online on Sunday. I do a radio program, so I will do my first tribute then. When I get to Trinidad, I was hoping to interview somebody else who's very close to Stalin. I'm not going to mention his name at the moment, but I'm hoping that I get to sit down and have a conversation with that icon, and a lot of that conversation will be about Stalin as well, because they were very, very close friends. So that's the one thing I've got on the agenda when I reach Trinidad.
Well, we are looking forward to seeing it, Martin. Sending you some warm vibes, some nice sun from Trinidad and Tobago, knowing that you will be here soon. And thank you so much for taking some time out of your probably afternoon by now to just sit with us and share some of your memories.
It's been a pleasure, and a Happy New Year to everybody. And I'm looking forward to seeing you in February.
Wonderful. Happy New Year. See you soon. All right, so Martin J giving us some memories there. I mean, obviously the one thing that stuck out to me was, you know, Trini's already. We just state the obvious.
Typical fatigue. The fat man. What is it? The fat man.
The fat man from England. But I can also see him singing very dry.
Yeah.
I've had the pleasure of seeing Stalin backstage, and he's very, very matter of fact. So sort of just when look the fat man from London. Like nothing to it.
Yeah.
I'm very curious as the person who he's talking about
who he's going to interview.
I think it's Roy Cape. I think it's Roy Cape.
Yeah,
I think it's Roy Cape.
Because
he spoke about the fact that they were close and he's an icon. Of course, we have other icons, but that sort of relationship that both of them had, I think is Roy Cape. But it's left to be seen. Is it that he's going to be here in February?
Yeah, it's February. Nice. Of course, Carnival season. You know, he's a man of Carnival as well. So looking forward to seeing that. And I think it's so nice. And it's also people are stepping out to themselves to have conversations with us and just in general. Because when you lose somebody that you love so much, it's hard.
It's difficult to have those conversations.
Yeah.
So it is also necessary, though, to celebrate those persons. And I am happy that we are doing that this morning as we continue to honor the legend that he is.
Yeah. I mean, did you all realize that this year was also a really, really sad year for the music, for the Soca fraternity and for the Calypso fraternity? We lost Singing Francine the week before Christmas. We lost Explainer. Also, we lost Blacks at the beginning of the year. I mean, we've lost so many people, and I think it's really good that some people would have done certain things before to honor our icons. Like, for example, I know that San Fernando, they would have renamed that street since last year, Dr. Leroy Calliste Street. You know what I mean? So I think more needs to be done for people who are still alive, so that we could remember them, you know, as they are.
Definitely, and of course, we will continue the conversation about Dr. Leroy Calliste in this upcoming week. However, this hour we've come to a close because it's Tobago Thursdays, so stay tuned. There's a lot more coming up that you don't want to miss. This is the Now Morning Show.
Children, stop you. What? Better days are coming. I don't want to hear that same song again. If I hear the same song, I might go insane. Because it's a small, the same thing I hear. That's how it have a better day coming. But anyhow that I look around, the whole world heading for destruction. People committing crimes that for their escape. They're doing all that for the children's sake. Better days are coming. He coming and he coming and he coming and he coming. Better days are coming. Waiting. Children, stop you. What your leader say? What you say? Better days are coming. You wait and dead.